Welcome to Women Don't Do That, where we empower you with inspiration, knowledge, and skills to redefine your boundaries and unleash your potential. I'm Stephanie Mitton, founder and CEO of Beacon North Strategies and your guide. Small town girl turned CEO while navigating career, motherhood, ADHD, and chronic migraines. Our conversations range from interviews with visionary women to solo episodes filled with actionable insights. We are your hub for turning what ifs into let's go. Are you ready to redefine your possible? Let's get started. After having the summer off, I am very excited to be back at the microphone with you this week. I want to share a little bit about what the summer looked like, what's coming up in the fall for us now that the fall is here, and a little challenge for you to carry into the season ahead. We'll talk about summer highs and lows, motherhood, work, personal wins, and how I plan what you hear on the podcast. So grab a coffee, get comfy, or do your dishes or laundry, whatever you're doing, and let's dive in. I want to start by talking about the summer because it was a summer full of surprises. Starting off with family life, new seasons of parenting. My girls are 12 and 14. My youngest turned 12 this summer. And so they are growing, and I'm really entering into a new phase of parenting, which is already started. But now I'm getting well into the way of the teens and walking through that parenting journey with my kids. I actually found myself, I mostly work from home, and my girls, now that they're older, don't do a lot of camps. And I did find myself at least a few times needing to escape to some coffee shops for some quiet, for some focus. It's great to have the kids around, and I like working remotely, so I can, jump in and have moments with them. But sometimes I was finding it very distracting. And I do feel like they do it to me more than my husband. And there are moments where you do just need to concentrate. And so that surprised me a little bit. One of the things we have done every summer since they were kids that is really a highlight of their summer and great for us as parents is that our kids go to grandparent camp. So each week in the summer, they go to their grandparents for a week. I know that that's not going to be everybody's situation or possible for you for many different reasons. But if you do have the ability to do something like that, it has been great for us and for the kids. And honestly, even though you're working that week, it feels like a vacation because you don't have to plan your meals ahead of time as much. You can eat later in the evening. You can do date nights with your spouse. You can go do fun activities together in the evening. I highly recommend it. Now that our kids are older, it's still easier to grab some of those moments, when they're here. But if you're able to do that, that's great. We also are very lucky in the fact that both of the grandparents live in the water. So going there really does feel like camp where you get to do things like kayak and maybe go in a boat and all some of those exciting things that you might get at an away camp. I thought I would also share a little bit about some of the personal wins that happened for me this summer. One of the things that I really think has made a difference for me is taking ADHD medication. And I was able to move my body a lot more and in really fun ways. I tried a lot of new things. And I've been doing a series on the Women Don't Do That TikTok about finding yourself as an adult as your kids get older and you get some of that time back. And I've been trying boxing with one of my girlfriends. And another day I went biking. Well, I've done this a few times, gone biking with people and then did some laps in our pool after. And so just enjoying exercise, being able to do it and stick with it, and enjoying the benefits of how I feel and the energy that I have afterwards, after many years of that really being a really big challenge for me for many different ways. And so that's been really fantastic. My goal for the fall is to be active at least 3 times a week, maybe even more. And so I'm excited to see what's possible and how that shapes some of my fall scheduling, which I've been starting to plan out as well. So I thought it would also be good to talk about maybe what didn't go as planned. As always, I think this happens every year. I plan to read more books and dive into more learning than actually happens. I do a lot of learning. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but sometimes I have this big ambition of all these books that I'm going to read on like business or parenting or just professional development. And I find I really have to be in the right space to read those kinds of books. Um, and that doesn't always happen. And then you run out of time. And so typically I don't get through all my book lists that I want. Yeah, that feels really unfortunate, but it's just the reality and something that happened to me this summer as well. And just a reminder that goals shift and it's part of the process is, holding some plans loosely. And something that was a fun memory for me from the summer, or maybe a really vivid memory from the summer, was that I spent a week working remotely for my parents. As I mentioned, my parents live on the water, so it's not a bad place to work. Although I do struggle sometimes with working because I just want to go play and swim and do things. But it was just really lovely to do that. My husband was away on a work trip, and my kids were at away camp that week, and it was really lovely. And uh, my parents are aging like many of yours, and it was just a really special time. It was my birthday. It was the first birthday I had had without being with my kids. I've written a blog about that you can check out, and that was a little bit hard. But even though I ended up with a migraine around my birthday, and that lasted for a few days, and I was actually quite sick. It felt really good to have my mom take care of me, which never happens, right? And I really had a lovely time, and it was very rejuvenating in many ways. So, looking more about the summertime and some of the transitions that happened and how things went, I had some work that I was trying to get done. We talked about it a little bit in terms of some of the reading, and I thought work would slow down, and it did in some ways. Client work was a little bit lighter, and I've been working through as my company's growing, and we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary, reviewing some of, our strategies and goals, and working through some processes that needed to be cleaned up. And so, but I've been incredibly busy because I've wanted to use that time well. And so, although there's not like as many emergency client deadlines, it has been so busy getting these other things done. And so, in some ways, they don't feel as stressful, but I've put stress on myself, I think, to just make sure I'm using that time wisely while I have the time to prepare for that fall busier season. And so, I have felt just like incredibly busy. And so I'm trying to calm like my nervous system a bit around that. One of the things that can be really challenging about owning your own business is you don't get a lot of time off, and just trying, through that last part of the summer to uh, enjoy that one week off that I had. I did steal some other moments here and there. And then to, slow down the nervous system a bit, even though there were still lots to do for the rest of the summer. Our pool seems to be leaking. And so that's kind of been a project that we've been working on since the end of July. So my backyard is a bit dug up. You may have heard me in other episodes or on social media talk about the fact that I was trying to turn my backyard into my golf course. Like I have this pool, I've been having some pool meetings there, but with a pile of dirt in the backyard and the pool at times a bit green because you have to get in and scrub it by hand, it doesn't really look the same. But you know what? These things happen, right? And again, you need to hold your plans loosely. And so we'll see. The pool may end up being a massive, expensive project as we figure out what that looks like. Of course, life is full of surprises, right? So I realized that slowing down also sometimes still feels fast. And I should know that because that just feels like what life is like. But I do feel like if I actually wanted to be a little bit slower in the summer, probably for next year, I need to adjust my plans a little bit differently. So maybe I will be doing that as well. As I've been looking to the fall, I've been looking at this fall reset and the energy shift, and I love a schedule. So coming into that fall season about what are we doing when, how is it all going to work together is really important. And that planning ahead is also really important for me because my husband travels for work. And so whatever schedule and things that we work out for the kids and I have to be able to handle on my own. And so we're kind of navigating that space right now. And I love figuring that out because it also just makes my life easier. And so I'm thinking about that planning that is well underway now. And probably by the time you listen to this episode, well underway. And so I'm trying to reclaim some space for me also in the schedule and prioritizing myself and exercise maybe a little bit differently and seeing where I can fit that in. I'm also constantly trying to practice to say no, and that is a skill that gets easier and easier with practice so that I do build in some quieter moments. And quieter moments for me, like I say that, but they're not usually quiet. My brain is a really busy space, and being chill is very hard for me. Uh, and sometimes being quiet for me is not what's quiet for someone else. It could be like a bike ride and a swim or something. But anyways, building in those moments, whatever they look like, for you. Of course, I mentioned before the ADHD medication, and so I've been able to build out more some physical activity things and working with a friend been giving me advice on that, which has been really great, so that we can hit the ground running. And so that being active piece along with the kids' schedules have been really important to me and something you can follow along on the TikTok journey as well. There's also some big milestones coming this fall for our family that we've been preparing for. So, my oldest daughter is starting high school. One of the things I had been doing over the summer is just getting advice from friends and current students at that high school about school supplies. We've been shopping, of course, for outfits and just emotionally trying to prepare for that chapter. I'm always looking for the advice. So if there's anything that you wish you knew about your child starting high school, or that your child says that they wish they knew, feel free to drop me a DM. And I live in Ottawa, Canada, for context. So I'm excited for her. She is ready. I don't know if that's just an older child thing that she always, to me, when they're younger, it's hard to imagine them moving out on their own or going to high school or going to middle school. And then when they get there, they always seem ready, especially for my oldest. So I would be curious to know if you find that for both your kids or if you have a haggle of children, if you find it's different for all of them. But I'm excited for her. And, those years have gone by fast, and I'm reflecting on that a little bit as well. So, what else happens behind the scenes? So, one of the things I thought would be interesting to share today as we talk about fall planning is some of the work that I am doing behind the scenes at Women Don't Do That and how we plan guests for the show. I thought you might find that interesting because we've been doing a lot of that over the summer. And so it really isn't a perfect science. It comes from many different places. We have a section on our website where people can suggest themselves or suggest someone else. And so people are welcome to go there to make those suggestions. And we do check that sometimes when we're looking for guests. I'm part of some different groups on Facebook. So sometimes there is somewhere I keep an eye out. I keep an eye out on social media. One of the things I love about finding creators on social media is that you can find a doctor who already has content about what they want to talk about or what's important to them or what they care about. And so you find people who already know how to tell their stories and talk about issues. Sometimes you might find a child psychologist, but maybe they have a harder time telling their story. And so sometimes I find when you find these people on social media and they're already doing that, they've already worked through some of those challenges. Not that all of our guests are on social media, but that is one way that we do find them, especially on TikTok, because I really enjoy consuming TikTok myself. So it's like people that I come across and their stories. And of course, people are recommended to me all the time. You can DM me or friends or, email, text, email me, whatever, different name suggestions. And so we get that as well. But it's not just about names. It's also about themes. So I'm paying attention to what are the issues that women care about today, maybe need advice on or are wondering about. Sometimes I do some of that research through AI. Sometimes it's listening to women will post, who should we have on or what themes are you caring about? I'll follow what's going on in social media and where the trends are to see what kind of questions women are asking and what kind of themes are overarching some of the important discussions that women are having today or the challenges that we're facing. Like things like burnout, for instance. And we've done some episodes about that in the past year. Another one that comes to mind is the episode I did with Paige Turner about the mental load, right? Like that's one that I often hear from women about. So all this to say, a great space if you do have ideas is to share on our website, as well as, send messages through social media. And sometimes I also will ask directly, like, I'm looking for like a medical expert in ADHD. Does anybody have a suggestion? So feel free to ever answer those as well, because all of those places come together to make our lists in terms of who we reach out to. So, what's coming this fall? I am really excited about the fall season of Women Don't Do That. We have spent many hours this summer. And if you know me, you know that I run four different brands. And my core business is actually a public affairs business. And Women Don't Do That is a passion project of mine that actually started before my core business, which is Beacon Nurse Strategies. And so we took some time over the summer to really figure out what are kind of the core topics and issues that women care about that we want to invest our time in and have guests talk about. How do we have more regular blogs for women to read? And you can sign up for those through our website. And things like, are we covering the right themes and issues that people care about? So doing research and cleaning up some of our processes that we needed to as this podcast, grows, and that means more production. And so I'm just really excited about some of the conversations. We have a fantastic guest coming to talk to us about confidence and about, in particular, bringing confidence to work with you and what that means when you're facing different work scenarios, like asking for a raise. I also have a guest who is joining us who is from the Arctic, but is an international model and talking about her culture, her ambition. She's become a mom. What does that look like? And it's just such a beautiful and fascinating story. And I'm excited. I've already recorded some of the episodes for the fall, and I'm really excited about what we're bringing you and about the important conversations and topics. And I hope that Women Don't Do That is a place for women to gain skill sets, learn new information, and grow. Be inspired to do whatever it is that you think that you can't. And I hope that we help you do that. Increase knowledge, increase skills, and increase our belief in ourselves. And so, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little bit of a challenge, especially as we think about this busy fall season that we have entered into. And so, I want you to think about what's one thing that you can do for yourself this fall. And I know for some of you, that's going to feel really selfish. And you're going to think, Stephanie, I don't want to talk about this. Why are you asking me that? Or that's uncomfortable. But it's not just for you, right? Like it is for you ultimately. But if it helps your brain, it's also for everybody else because you will be a better employee, a better partner, a better spouse, a better mother if you do that one thing for yourself. I want you to think about as you're building out your schedules for your family, your school, what you commit to, whether you're on the parent student council, whatever you choose, that you build a schedule that's realistic and sustainable for you. And I've written quite a few blogs about this and about saying no, and that we really do have a lot of control in that situation. Many people in my life probably know, like, I'm a super busy person. I don't work 9 to 5 jobs. I often have to work receptions and events and things like that in the evening. And I'm busy with my kids. My husband travels for work. And more, I'm building the work of Women Don't Do That into kind of my normal work processes. But especially when my kids were little, I didn't do things like parent council meetings and things like that. My contribution to kind of the broader society and volunteer was spending time in Women Don't Do That, because it took time away from my work. It was stuff that I did outside of work hours. And I felt like empowering and inspiring women was just so important. So instead of doing boards or other types of volunteers, that's what I did. And so that also meant that I said no to a lot of other things, for necessity. And because that's always doing it, right? So just because you don't see someone like volunteering or doing things maybe in the way that you do doesn't mean that they're not contributing in a different way. And we all know that things like volunteering or giving your time to boards or sharing your expertise, is really valuable to society, right? And we also know that there are times in your life, or maybe when your kids are little, but you can't do that versus when your kids are little when you can, maybe, right? So keep those kinds of things in mind. And I think we need to stop telling ourselves that we have no control over those schedules or saying yes or all these things, and then we're overwhelmed. And I would be lying if I didn't tell you that I am in a perpetual state of like getting it under control, doing too much, getting it under control. But it's something I'm constantly working at. And given I have ADHD, it's something I probably will have to work on the rest of my life. But I'm passionate about you knowing that you do have some control in that situation, and that saying no is okay and it is an answer. And again, we have some blogs about that that you can check out if you're interested in, more in depth about how I handle those situations. And I will say that it gets easier over time. It is so uncomfortable the first couple times that you do it. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said that wasn't true. But I promise you, the more and more that you do it, it does get a little bit easier. So thank you for joining me today. I loved being able to share more about not just the interviews, of course, but real life updates, behind the scenes moments with you. I can't wait for you to hear this season that we're building out for you, from incredible guests, to the excitement of our 200th episode celebration, which is coming, and just looking back and reflecting on the work that's been done to date, and the thousands of women that have been inspired through this podcast. And don't forget your fall challenge either. As we look into this season, pick one thing that you're going to do for you. It can be a pickleball class. It can be practicing music for an hour, like a minimum of one thing, or like 1 hour for you. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're not doing any, that is a start. Okay, that's what I want you to do. Until next time, keep going, keep growing, and remember that you've got this. Thanks for joining us on Women Don't Do That. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating or review. Connect with us on Instagram at Women Don't Do That, and visit our website www.womendon'tdothat.com for more details. Join our Patreon to support our work. Find all of the links in the show notes. Remember, you have the power to transform your what ifs into let's go. Together, let's redefine your possible. Until next time. The opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Women Don't Do That, Stephanie Mitton, or affiliated brands.